I don't want it to be a downer, but this is something that people outright ignore. Foreigners that go to China especially, they kind of outright ignore this, and it actually gets on my nerves. So
I want you to kind of introduce this whole thing with your money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
When you get to China, this is what the currency is. As you can see very clearly, we have Chairman Mao on the money.
I can bring it closer.
Yeah, you bring it in closer so people can see. All right, what is 100 yuan worth?
Like $17.
This is the highest denomination that you can
get.
So
annoying.
Yeah, this is the highest denomination in Chinese currency. But he's on all of the notes. So you got Mao Zedong on the notes. You will notice that when you're driving in a taxi, a lot of the times they got a big medallion of Mao, big red and gold sort of medallion, or they'll even have a little statue of him on the dash. You go into shops, you'll have portraits of Mao on the background.
Right. My father-in-law keeps a remember the gold embossed card with Chairman Mao on it in his car for good luck. He's become the patron saint. You know, like Saint Christopher or whatever is the patron saint of driving. He's the patron saint of driving in China.
And a lot of those little Mao busts have the dirt inside.
Where he was.
Yeah, from like his hometown.
Xiang something.
Yeah, exactly. So you see this everywhere, especially if you're walking through the slightly more sort of rural areas. You will see Mao Zedong portraits inside people's homes, inside shops.
Oh, it's so common.
It's just everywhere.
It's kind of like seeing a Jesus portrait. So, my mom has one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just Mao.
Or like a crucifix on the wall.
Crucifix, yeah.
So you see Mao everywhere. And when I got to China at first, I mean, I just accepted, this is China, this is the way they do things. But I was quite confused because I'm aware of the failings of Mao. I think everybody learned in history, more or less.
Yeah, we learned in school.
We learn like all the mistakes that happened under Mao, the great leap backwards and the cultural devolution, as I call them, which wiped out Chinese culture and led to more deaths. Can we go to the video?
Yeah, I would like to talk about this a little bit. I think this is quite interesting, and I like the way this is put on.
Yeah.
If we look at all these dictators here, each one of these blood droplets represents 1 million people, right? And who would you say, and I'm not doing apples and oranges like comparing here, but who would you say is the most notorious dictator in history, Western history?
Hitler, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when I'm looking at his little blood droplets, that's pretty awful. But look at Mao, and I'm not doing whataboutism here. Literally, why do not many people talk about this? 78 million people.
Yeah. Well, you know why they don't talk about it. You can get us back in there. Yeah, there we are.
Covered in his blood now. I got Stalin's blood dripping on me.
Yeah. I've got King Leopold II of Belgium. That's due to the Congo, by the way.
Yes.
Anyway.
It fits since you're South African.
Yeah, it fits. It fits. Yeah, I'm from Africa.
And I'm from Georgia.
Yeah, there we are. Yes, you are.
Boy.
I've had a couple of conversations with my wife and with my friends, my Chinese friends.
Yeah, get into this.
And it's a difficult conversation because, first of all, a lot of them they blank out when it comes to Mao. Like anything that's bad about that time, they've been from a young age through education and everything. They are not taught the bad things first of all, or they're taught to ignore them and not talk about them. So it's a very uncomfortable subject.
Right.
It's incredibly uncomfortable. I hate talking about anything to do with communism.
Recent Chinese history.
Recent Chinese history. Mao Zedong, anything like that. I don't talk about that with my wife because it's incredibly uncomfortable. Makes her very uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. And also with my friends. Okay? So what I do get from these conversations all the time is that China would not be the way it is without him. Yes. He's a great man because he's the one who made the new China. And yes, he made mistakes, but he's still a great man, and China would not be where it is. And then I always turn around and say, okay, what about Taiwan? Same people.
It's so small.
Yeah. Oh, but it's so small. China's such a big country. You don't understand. You can't compare. Yes, you can. You can. It's exactly the same. It's a different form of government and a different form of leadership.
Right.
Mao Zedong, it's not mistakes. It's like saying, yeah, Hitler made a few mistakes, but guess what? He did wonders for the German economy.
Right.
Which he did.
Right.
Yeah. He brought the nation together, which he did.
But he is rightfully demonized, whereas Mao is not demonized.
He's not demonized. He's worshipped.
Right.
Still to this day, like we were saying, in the people's shops, in their homes, on the money, you have pictures of someone who led to the death and starvation of so many people. Now, then they'll also say, oh, but it's not his fault. It was foreign influence that caused this, famine. It's always
the communists
something
were backed.
else. Yeah.
You know, like, seriously, like, against Japan.
Yeah.
What would have happened without the foreign interference there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The problem with all of this is that China's got a long history. They know how to deal with famine. They know how to deal with like drought, okay? Because they've been an agrarian society forever. They know how to deal with this stuff. Mao did things that prevented them from dealing with these things.
Right.
He's the one who told everyone to kill all the sparrows. He's the one who said stop farming and make metal instead.
Kill the landlords and teachers.
Yes, kill all the intellectual people or send them to labor camps.
He called Chinese culture disgusting. Yeah. He hated Chinese culture.
He actually wanted to get rid of Chinese characters.
He actually wanted to get rid of Chinese people so that they could sustain.
Well,
Not even joking. That was the thing. He was competing with the Soviet Union. That's why you had those backyard metal things.
Yeah.
Which we've seen lots
of. We actually have seen them in the rural parts of China. They still exist.
Guizhou,
yeah, remember we were going up in the mountains of Guizhou for that place, and there was like those old, smelts that they built completely deserted.
That caused famine.
Really, really eerie. So he is responsible. His policies are responsible for all these deaths and the starvation and all this stuff. And people don't want to admit that.
Sure.
They just want to say, "Oh, he's a great man.
Right.
He made China. He's awesome." And he made a few mistakes.
Sure.
A few mistakes. That's not a few mistakes.
No, we're talking about cults of personality, right?
Yeah.
And this is, you can see this in North Korea, you can see this through Soviet history, German history, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But why is it that those figureheads are, completely hated by their own people, by and large, right? And why does this continue in China throughout its leadership of the CCP? Today we have Xi Jinping.
Yeah, Xi Jinping.
He's painted in an almost identical light.
Yeah,
as Chairman Mao. How can this happen? So we're going to roll some footage.
Yeah, just keep rolling the footage in the background there. To get back to good old Mao, all right? I understand what it's like. First of all, can you look at that man and please...
Pause that.
Can you pause that? Is he handsome?
Absolutely. He's a knockout. He is a delicious piece of meat.
He's shui, bro.
What's shui? Yeah, shui. Yeah, he's shui. Nice.
That was actually a good play on words because he's in the shui, which is
water.
water.
Yeah, he's shui. Be water, my friend. Let's go back to the money here because, okay.
Mao hated money, by the way.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember quite clearly when I first got to China, and I don't know why the conversation came up, but it actually had nothing to do really with Mao. But I was just pointing out like. It's interesting to have him on the money. And one of my students at the time, because I was teaching young adults at the time, she was like, "Yes, he is so handsome."
Do you know how many times I've heard that?
Yeah, and everybody says Mao Zedong is handsome in China. They might say he's handsome but a little fat.
Right.
No, seriously.
That is the perfect quote.
Yeah.
You just need the accent.
Yeah, but
handsome. Yeah.
But to look at this man that you can see on the screen and call him handsome is ridiculous. He is one of the ugliest people alive.
This is actually what this whole episode is about. How can someone be so manipulated mentally to think something like that?
Yeah, roll the footage. You can keep it going. Let's watch this handsome man.
He may be the ugliest dictator that ever lived.
Yeah. No, he's not a handsome man, but everybody calls him handsome. Now, I do understand charismatic, right?
Yeah, I guess. He?
I don't. That doesn't look charismatic to me. But that's his older years.
Like his Chinese was wicked bad, and this is him in modern times. He's everywhere in China.
No, he is absolutely. The fact that this cult of personality will actually brainwash people into thinking this man is handsome, is kind of a big point of this podcast.
Yes,
because he's not a handsome.
He looks a lot better looking there. Do you think that's an accurate photo?
Oh, no, we have some really funny
representations. We've got to show you a little later. Let's just keep rolling the footage. Okay, he's not a handsome man.
No.
Charismatic, yes. Maybe he was a great man to his people. And, we cannot discount the fact that in the beginning of his whole campaigns and everything, maybe he was what China needed. Maybe he was a good leader. Maybe he was somebody that the people could look up to. And, especially in modern history, China has felt downtrodden. And I've got to put myself in the shoes of Chinese people.
Sure.
And I have to say that, yes, they need someone to look up to say, you know what, we're a powerful nation, we've got a big history.
Because of the ways the dynasties have always worked.
We have a powerful history. We're going to move forward and we're going to make something of us. We're tired of these foreigners interfering and telling us what we can do and all that kind of stuff. So you know what? Let's build a nation together. And that's positive and that's good. And I like that. But then when he's like, okay, but let's just destroy all of our history. Let's tear down the temples. Let's get rid of the four. Let's get rid of the four olds. Let's destroy Chinese culture 100%. Then his initial good build-up is all gone.
No, it's dead. Completely.
Yeah.
So, Mao jerky.
Yeah, he becomes Mao jerky. So anyway, this awful dictator had his moments, obviously, when he was, starting out and everybody loved him.
When he was biding his time, letting everyone else die.
But why is it, do you think, that in modern day China right now, he's still on the money and people still love him, even though everybody knows he did these bad things? Why? It's like having Hitler on the Deutschmark.
It is. Or the euro.
Yeah, the euro, sorry. So why do you think it is?
Well, there's one, not a correction, but to clarify, you said everybody knows. It's completely untrue.
True.
Everybody knows
handsomest
something.
Man in the world, by the way. Seriously, we got to talk about
kiss
this.
Him?
Can you pause it?
Oh yeah, they paused it there. I actually read this cool book by his doctor who fled to America.
Yeah.
Very thick book, but completely documented his life because Mao trusted his health to him.
Yeah.
Mao was so paranoid, just like any dictator, that he was going to be assassinated or poisoned or whatever. But Mao, apparently, he didn't believe in sleep schedules.
Okay.
He'd sleep whenever he wanted, wake up whenever he wanted. He predominantly ate hong shao rou, which is pork belly.
Yeah, which is actually pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah.
And he brushed his teeth with black tea.
Yeah, well, he gargled.
Swished it. He didn't brush his teeth. He didn't believe in brushing his teeth.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's very apparent in these in this footage. Anyway.
Yeah.
How can someone like that still be popular, still be worshipped, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, a lot of people don't know a lot of what he did.
Right.
Number two, and this is where I disagree with people. A lot of Americans, they're like, if only they knew, it wouldn't change a thing.
No, it wouldn't.
Honestly, you could tell anyone, they'd be like, oh, that's a shame. Like, even if they believed it. It's the problem is in the ideology that party needs to be legitimized. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have China in the state that it's in right now. So in 1949, when he actually came into power, all of this bad stuff happened later and all this kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter because China is here today because of this man.
Yeah.
You can't erase it. It doesn't even matter what happens anymore.
Yeah, also, I find, like I said, if I ever get into this kind of conversation, even if I'm just trying to be logical and trying to find a real opinion from someone, it actually just makes them angry. They don't want to talk about it. So even if you did show them graphic photos of what the devastation, they'd be like, shut up, stop showing me that. I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's like,
Don't be trying to look bad.
Exactly. I guess it's kind of like if you are a teenager and your father was a criminal in jail because he's a mass murderer, and you're like, dude, your father sucks. Like, shut up, I don't want to talk about it.
I think a even better analogy would be like, we had to look at all the atrocities that American soldiers committed in Vietnam and all this kind of stuff. We had to learn about that in history, and we didn't tell the teacher to shut up.
Yeah.
You own up to it, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem, though, is that Americans and Westerners feel like they are a part of something, part of their society. Chinese people have this massive leadership that cannot be wrong. Yeah. Right, and then everyone else is just Chinese in one big group. Right?
Yeah, but I would say Chinese people, even more so than the West, feel a part of their country and a part of their
but without
society.
actually doing something in that society, not being politically active.
Right. They just are.
Right, and so they rely on this stuff. How can Mao be wrong if he built the entire country? Right?
Yeah,
it's impossible.
I guess so. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on.
Yeah.
So. We're seeing this kind of cult of personality thing continue these days, with not only Xi Jinping, who's Mao 2.0.
Yes.
You had it with Bo Xilai and stuff. He was bringing back the communist songs. Lei Feng, I talked about Lei Feng in my my role models video that I did, and the reason I brought him up is. Even now, people are told, learn from Lei Feng. Exactly. And
I don't know why I know that song.
Well, because you hear it a lot, especially in school.
Sure.
In middle school and stuff, it's still, you see Lei Feng on the walls. People are told to Shui Lei Feng. They learn about Lei Feng as if he's a real historical character. And he was just a propaganda tool for...
he was basically, for all you listeners out there, he was a fictionalized character that went and helped old people or build a dam or... give all his money away.
Well, what happened was it was during, I think it was just after the Great Leap Forward, backwards, and Mao Zedong had lost a lot of support.
Yes.
Okay? And so they were worried that, the people would rebel and weren't going, he just didn't have the power that he had anymore. So what they did was they made this fictionalized character. It's a real person.
Yeah.
Okay. But what they did was they just took this random dude and they took lots of very high quality photos of him doing things. Altruistic things.
Pause on Mao jerky, please.
Yeah, pause on there. We'll get back to that soon. So they took lots of photos of Lei Feng, like, I don't know, helping children how to read, fixing the distributor on a truck, like washing trucks, doing things like, all this, but mainly reading Mao's thought book. Okay, so they got pictures of him with smiling and showing people Mao Zedong's book.
I have one of those.
Yeah.
Someone gave me one.
Yeah, exactly. So they did this to kind of bolster Mao Zedong's image and to show, like, look, this is a model citizen. Lei Feng is like this awesome, selfless character, which, by the way, the character they created is actually pretty nice. I like the idea of someone who helps people.
Yeah.
And so nothing wrong with that, except for the part where he, like, worships Mao and, like, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so they made this Lei Feng character. And even back then, I think people didn't buy it 100% because what kind of random soldier has, like, the highest tech camera crew following him around to take these beautiful high-resolution photos in, like, the 70s, whatever, The average person is starving to death and dying. They do not have a camera crew following them around. So, it was kind of met with skepticism, but then it was, like, forced into the educational system, forced into, like, society, so everybody follows this Shui Lei Feng kind of nonsense.
And the stuff leading up to it, you had a good point, was that Chinese government was losing support because people are dying. When you get to that point, it's like, oh crap. Now all of these arduous march, and we're gonna stand up, and we're gonna have to go through some tough times. It stopped working, so that was a perfect kind of antidote for that bad attitude. And you're seeing it now. Yeah. With the whole trade war thing, you see how Xi Jinping is now telling the public, get ready for the long fight. Like, it's going to be a big struggle, but we're going to win. It's scary, dude.
So it's just history repeating itself over and over again. Let's talk about the Mao jerky.
Sure.
And by the way, the Mao Gan Rou, which means Mao jerky, we didn't make that up.
No.
Chinese people say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It's not like he deserves respect.
Just saying, just in case people think we're purposefully trying to make a jab at this jerky.
Man. This is a very big slice of Mao jerky.
Yes. By the way, this is, once again, just the CCP copying the Soviets, because Lenin is the same way, right? Entombed. If you look at the Chinese Communist Party, everything that they've done up until now is just basically a copy of the Soviet Union.
That's the issue I have, and I hate to go back on this, but we always say, how can they still love Mao? Mao hated you, if I'm speaking to China. Mao hated Chinese people. He hated everything about it. He wanted control, and he wanted to compete with the Soviet Union, right? So if you look at architecture or anything made from 49 up until now, it is still a copy of the Soviet Union, which is ridiculous because it failed.
Yeah.
Military
uniforms, everything. Yeah. But I mean, didn't Mao say something along the lines of, he's so lucky because he could, have half of his population
70%.
die?
He said, 70%? I can lose 70% of my population and it wouldn't mean anything because we have so many, basically so much fodder. He just didn't care. He's
a very, very bad man.
There's some really bad scandals about him too in his personal life.
Yeah, which, I mean, we don't need to get into that. You read that book.
It's a great book. I can't remember the name, but just read any biography about Mao. And
autobiography. Cool. I'm a piece of jerky.
I'm a piece of jerky. You can find me at Whole Foods. So anyway, he's laying here dead. They copied Lenin, right?
Yeah.
I read a funny story about how when they were embalming him, apparently, like, his ears and, like, pieces of his body kept rotting off, so they had to, like, hire scientists from different countries to, like, glue it back on.
Oh, no. Okay.
But he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. You can go and see him in Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
I don't know, do they just let foreigners go in
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
You have to pay money, though.
Yeah.
And you still see people lining up with roses and placing them on his thing.
That's the thing that annoys me the most is the fact of this worship that still goes on today. It was such a strong personality cult. And the fact that you can go ahead and be responsible for so much destruction and devastation and literally taking the beautiful Chinese culture and turning it into a drab, cookie cutter, gulag Soviet type thing.
Right.
And then you still worshipped.
I know. And the thing is, like, you can look at other countries that have terrorized other countries, like killed other people, right? Wars, all this bad blood between countries. But this is a country and the current leadership that is still worshiping the same person that killed his own people. Yeah. That's what makes this very special and very strange, and I think hard for a lot of people to grasp.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good person. I don't think we have to explain that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, we're done with this. It's not a history about how bad Mao was, this thing. Once again, I do want to reiterate that I do understand a lot of Chinese people's sentiment when it comes to why they still like him. And it's due to the fact that they have been taught from birth that they're downtrodden. And this is a hero that made our country, and took us from being downtrodden, controlled by the Japanese, controlled by foreign powers, etc., etc. 200 years of humiliation, opium wars, blah, blah, blah. And this is the guy who came here and made us into this powerful nation that we are today. So I understand it from that point of view, but that's a very simplistic, bad way to look at something.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
But it does legitimize current rule. So that they don't need to make
reform.
reform.
Yeah, that's why it's encouraged.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange because when you start to see too much of this like Mao era rhetoric ramping up, and you start seeing like, let's carry on with the footage. By the way.
Yeah, this would be interesting.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Is that Beethoven?
It looks like Beethoven to me. This is
it there?
Yeah, this is apparently supposed to be Mao.
In what reality did that exist?
I don't know.
That's very Soviet, by the way.
It is Soviet.
Maybe when he was like 20.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
I don't even think so.
There are pictures of him when he was 20, when he looked kind of normal. But that's certainly never had like flowing hair and Beethoven-looking thing. They got them all right.
He's got real broad shoulders there.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's definitely not Mao in any universe.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go see that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So pause this.
So
this is a good one.
So you see, like some farmers, they
loved him.
Yeah, of course. Like a lot of the rural people still worship Mao.
Yeah,
they certainly do. So some rich farmers came along and they built this golden statue of Mao, but they didn't get permission from the government to do it.
Right.
So the government tore it down.
Yeah, it turned out so ugly that they were like, "This is more offensive than anything."
Yeah, but what I was trying to get at a little earlier is that whenever the like pro-Mao stuff ramps up too much, the government steps in and shuts it down.
Isn't that weird?
It's because they know that what he did was bad, and they know it's bad. They don't actually want that, but because it's such a convenient control mechanism, they have to keep it in place. They just don't want it to get to that level.
They want the spotlight, but not too bright.
Yes, exactly. So this is a very good example of that, is that these patriotic farmers, nationalist patriotic farmers, they built this with their own money, thinking that it would be fine. Why not?
Sure.
They can worship Mao all they want. They can have him everywhere, but build a statue of him and draw too much international attention, and then all of a sudden the government's like, screw you, and they tore it down.
And I also think that this is interesting. You have the people that worship Mao, and Mao's whole rhetoric was that the peasants win, intellectuals and rich people lose, which, believe it or not, is diametrically opposed to what the current leadership does and how the government runs.
Sure.
Rich people are worshipped, and peasants are shit on.
Yeah.
It's the flip-flop.
It is
right?
the
So
flip-flop.
if you paint him in a positive light, that's fine, but if you keep digging into what his principles were, then it's different than actually what China is today.
Can I just comment on like how awful it looks there?
That looks like hell.
That we've ridden through that.
Yeah.
That's most probably pollution, not fog.
Yeah, it could be even both, like that
Could be.
soup, that mix.
I just want to say that, that's not a very good look. Anyway, yeah.
Imagine if you saw that from the side there.
Well, I think that's... I honestly think because it was getting too much international attention and it was showing the worship of Mao a little bit too much, a little too enthusiastic. And that's something that you'll find out about China. If people get too enthusiastic about anything, suddenly it's banned, or, anything like a TV show or whatever. It'll just be like, wait, whoa.
You're not allowed to be into that.
Yeah, exactly. Done.
Do you think they made him on a butter?
No, but it does look like a hell of an undertaking.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue on with this. Yes. Anyway. Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, we got to talk about this. Please, go back a little bit there, or maybe...
No, you can go forward.
Okay, go forward.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when to
Go forward,
pause
young
it.
pioneer.
Okay, just pause it on that. Whoa. Sorry, I'm hitting something
You're
here.
doing that. Okay.
Yeah, that was my bad. What's up with the mangoes? This is a little bit more lighthearted, okay?
Yeah.
This has been a heavy sode so far. We apologize if we've hurt the feelings of the Chinese people, because we know that's definitely happened if anyone's watched this. It's not our intent here, okay? We want the wider world to understand China from our own perspective and insight that we've gained living there for so long.
Right.
We're not here to bash China or to make China look bad.
Absolutely
We want
not.
people to understand why
You gotta understand.
You gotta understand, China. Why is this guy still on the money? Why is he still worshipped? We're explaining. But this is a little bit more lighthearted, so Simo, take it away. Mangoes.
Mangoes. Delicious. You like mangoes, right?
I love mangoes.
It's one of my favorite fruits.
It's called a manguo.
Manguo. It's obviously a Romanization.
In Chinese. Yeah.
Anyway, this mango is enshrined as a religious symbol for a very specific reason, and that is because back in the day, China didn't have mangoes. Right?
No.
Chairman Mao, he never was able to give extravagant gifts because it went against communist principles, right? So when he'd go to villages and stuff, he couldn't be like, here's gold bricks or something like that, even though he has access to all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he would give like very mundane things, but he got his hands on some mangoes.
Yeah, it was I think the Pakistani envoy came there.
They gave him to him.
They gave him a bunch of mangoes.
He apparently didn't like mangoes.
Oh, okay.
So he like re-gifts.
He gave them to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these people are like, holy shit, Chairman Mao touched these mangoes and gave them to us? We are so lucky.
And it's not like millions of mangoes. It's just a couple, like a handful or whatever, right? So.
And they literally turned it into a religious symbol, the cult of the mango.
Yeah, which lasted about a year or so.
Yeah. They actually hushed it down a little bit later, again, when something gets out of control. You know.
The interesting thing about this is it became so popular, they would carry these enshrined mangoes around the countryside, to...
People would, touch them.
There's actual propaganda posters of them carrying mangoes around the village areas.
Because it symbolized Mao's love.
Yes, for the people. He gave us this magical fruit.
Right.
It became so popular that counterfeit mangoes were being made and passed around.
I'm kind of appalled. Like, that's a pretty shit gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I like mangoes, but you don't just give someone 2 mangoes and then it turns into like a freaking political tool.
I think it's quite interesting, and
it is.
It gives you a very good mindset into this cult of personality. The fact that somebody can give someone a mango and it becomes like a godlike symbol that's carried around in a glass case around the countryside like a deity shows you how powerful these cult of personalities are.
Who needs breaking bread and feeding 5,000 people with 2 fish when you got 2 mangoes, bro?
2 mangoes. He didn't even need to make more.
No.
That was enough for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this is funny, and the reason that we actually included this bit of trivia, because it's obviously not relevant now.
No.
The same sort of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
What about Xi Baozi?
Yeah.
We're going to move on to that soon.
Yeah, we will in a bit. By the way, you can't call Xi Jinping Xi Baobao or Xi Baozi.
That means Xi bread or
Xi bun. Yeah. Not that long ago, Xi Jinping ate baozi at a certain baozi shop.
That's a steam bun.
Yeah, it's a steam bun. Okay, we love baozi. Yeah. It's a great food. It's great breakfast food, and it became incredibly popular. That guy's restaurant was just like now people will just line up.
They're ordering online.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like the restaurant that Xi Jinping touched. It's a similar thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Really it is. But anyway, you can't call him... People are calling him Xi Baobao, like Xi bun. Yeah. Because he ate the bun.
Some dude got 22
months.
It was 22 months detained for calling him that.
So if you think China's different nowadays, nah.
Yeah,
let's keep rolling.
So yeah, we got our mango paraphernalia here. These are what we were talking about. Can you pause that?
Handsome Mao.
Yeah. That's the atypical.
Mao,
that is the handsome picture of Mao.
Yes.
That is the most handsome picture, and you see him everywhere. That's the one people like to remember him by. But it's usually the donut hair, I
always thought it was weird that these kind of exorbitant, gold-looking, wealthy symbols, like these talismans that they have, completely go against everything that Mao was for. Yeah. He didn't want to be enshrined in a wealth, like we need to get rich and stuff. But Chinese culture is too deep for that.
Yeah, you can't take that out of it. And you'll see now you've got Jiang Zemin
Jiang Zemin, Mao,
and Xi Jinping, and
there's Hu
Jintao's in there. Yep. So this is the kind of thing you see in taxis hanging from the rearview mirror when you drive around. That's what we were talking about earlier. Now
Right. The thing is, with the last president, if you guys don't know, his name was we shouldn't say president, dictator. Last dictator of China.
Or chairman.
Last chairman of China. His name was Hu Jintao.
I kind of liked him. No, I'm not. Well, I didn't like him. I liked China under him. It was like the best time in China.
It was more relaxed.
Yeah, it was. Sure. Things were growing rapidly. People were more friendly.
He did a lot of bad stuff,
I'm sure,
but in a different way that didn't affect us.
I'm sure he did. If you're like basically a dictator, you've got complete control. They've got the Politburo and all that stuff. There are a few checks and balances, but not really. So when you have that much power and control over a country, of course
things get out of hand.
Power corrupts.
My point was you didn't see talismans of him.
No, you didn't. You're right.
You do see talismans of Xi now.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, you do.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
As much crap as we give Mao too, not to be a jerk, but Jiang Zemin looks like a burn victim.
Jiang Zemin looks like a frog, and he actually spoke English, which was hilarious. If you guys ever want some funny stuff, Google like Jiang Zemin like freaks out in English. He just goes on this tirade. It's hilarious. He's a funny dude. He is opposed to Xi, by the way.
Is he?
Jiang Zemin's powerful factions are still around.
Okay.
And she's kind of butting heads a little bit with him.
Yeah. Oh,
cool.
Let's
if you guys want some soap opera, CCP soap opera.
If you care about that stuff, yeah.
See, this is the kind of stuff we wouldn't see 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, here's she visiting a. This is basically. Yeah. Remember
Want me to take you out for the subtitles?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, remember the 2008 earthquake in Sichuan, which was awful. We spoke about that last time, and what you're seeing here is basically this village was rebuilt, and so he's visiting the people again.
Right.
And you can see a very similar thing to.
It's the same as the Mao stuff.
Yeah. It's all very similar.
Right.
What's going on here is they bring out the ethnic minorities. They make a big show of it. And he comes and touches the thing, and everyone's going to go to that restaurant now. And,
It's you see presidents like visiting places and doing things like this for charity and whatnot. But the thing is, like this is all set up PR campaign for the CCP, and the people that end up in these interviews and stuff are just like almost in tears. They're like, he's so awesome, he's so professional, I love him so much. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna egg on people too much for doing things like that. It's totally fine. You can have your heroes in life. You can look up to the leader of your country and have respect for him and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. What I honestly have a problem with is the fact that people are willing to defend to the point of making an enemy out of you. Defend the bad actions, because like I've said during this video, I see nothing wrong with the good actions of people. I can say that Mao Zedong did good things. He did do good things. Everyone does good things. Charles Manson probably did good things. He probably rescued a bunny or something.
I even do good things.
You know what I mean? You're looking at the picture in the wrong way, though. It's like make an enemy out of me if I'm ragging on the good things. If I'm like saying China shouldn't be its own country, shouldn't have done this. If I say something like that, I agree.
Right.
Go ahead and attack me. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going against you, and I'm disrespecting you and your country. But when I'm saying this guy should not be worshipped because he actually probably killed relatives of yours. Never mind that, he wiped out the entire culture of your country. You shouldn't be like, no, he's a great man, get out of China, you piece of crap. You should be like, yeah, you know what? He did bad things, and that's why we're trying to fix it, and we're trying to move forward. Don't go back. Don't make me an enemy. Don't make us an enemy. Don't keep worshipping this terrible man.
And that, my friends, is why Taiwan and Hong Kong do not want to be a part of mainland China.
Yes,
because it's very easy to answer.
If you go to Taiwan and Hong Kong, you don't see pictures of a dictator on the wall.
No. I mean, like, what's his name? Chiang Kai-shek was horrible, but guess what? They're taught about it.
Yes,
they learn from their mistakes. The White Terror is over.
Yeah.
They don't love him.
No, they don't. And you'll see the normal kind of thing where people can either follow their religion that they believe in, their Confucianism or their Buddhism or Taoism or whatever. You see that in Hong Kong and in Taiwan and in Macau and in Singapore and all these things. Yeah, same people, but being able to maintain their original culture. Yes. And that's why I've always said, if you want to see Chinese culture, the real Chinese culture, you don't go to China. You can't. I was expecting that, and I was sorely disappointed. And I've traveled just like you around the entire country looking for that. And you find remnants.
Yes.
You'll find temples that, or little ancestral temples and things. You'll find them. But they're all run down. They're disused. They've got actual pictures of Mao, like we've discovered, painted on the wall. They've got communist rhetoric written there on the walls.
A million times.
There's nothing left. But if you go to Taiwan, you see temples everywhere, like proper, legitimate stuff.
And actual festivals that they take seriously, preservation of their culture, altruism, charity.
Yes,
these
and
things
you see the same things in Hong Kong and Macau and places like that where it survived.
Look at all the NGOs and stuff in Hong Kong and whatnot,
Survived the tyranny, of Mao.
Right.
And I think it's such a pity that mainland Chinese people so vehemently defend this tyrant rather than going to places like Taiwan and Hong Kong, and instead of saying you belong to us, screw you, you're ours, why don't they go and say, hey, look, we're all the same, we're brothers and sisters, let's make things right. Let's fix this, let's restore China to what it was.
And China doesn't want that. They absolutely don't want that.
It makes me sad, that's all.
I'm
because
very passionate about
I have a genuine love for China,
Me
which
too.
a lot of people don't actually believe, but it's absolutely true.
Why would we care so much?
Yeah, why would we be talking about this nonsense if that wasn't true? I suddenly got massively attacked, saying I'm lying about the Chinese electric vehicles. EV fanboys are just cut from a different cloth. Talk about a cult.
This guy who pretends that he's a Chinese person who hates China.
I pretend that I'm a Chinese person who hates China. That's very interesting because I've never pretended to be a Chinese person.
Clearly, places where you put in your fuel pump.
It's almost getting me like tinfoil hat level, conspiracy level, that this is all planned or something.
这叫鼠鸭，这个特别好吃，好吃，好吃。
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind were